Hello and welcome to Plato's Cave on WZZR, coming to us from Australia. It's cold here today, I'm telling you. My brain is frozen. For Revolution Radio on revolution.radio, but it is really cold. I just picked up my girls from gymnastics, and it is cold. I didn't move to Australia for the cold. I didn't. It's home to fresh, relatively uncensored ideas and conversations in the chat room. There's a whole bunch of people in the chat room today. Who do we have? We've got Comet and Maced139 and Surrey Sunflower and Cannon Sanders. And I think Nara, Dave, you in there, I think?
Yeah, I'm in there.
Beautiful. And those are all the ones I can see scrolling up and down. Now, the show needs your support. The station needs your support because there are no sponsors, no corporate or governmental or non-governmental, non-govs, NGOs. None of that. It's all just the listeners. So if you've got the cash, please sponsor the station, sponsor the show. If you don't have the cash, tell your friends and family because things are tough all over and they're going to get worse. Hate to say that, but it's going to get worse. And on that, I've got a few things to say, which is really interesting. So donate if you can. Any kind of currency is good. Right? If you can't, tell friends and family. Today is the 20th of June, 2023, and I think tomorrow or Thursday is the shortest day of the year in Australia.
Hooray.
The winter solstice. It's either tomorrow or Thursday, maybe both. You can catch the cave on air online on your smart device. Grab an app to listen anywhere, or listen at home on a Grace Table of Digital Radio. Yeah. You can also go to the archives, which are delicious. That's right, they cost you nothing. Just go in there, have a look. There should be something for everyone. Another reason to donate or tell your friends and family about this if you can. Before we start broadcasting at you in anger, we would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land from which we broadcast. For me, it's the Dark people, and for Dave.
Dark and Jung.
Thank you, sir. And with that, we'd like to pay our respects to elders past, present, and future. Shout out to my nephew Oscar, who seems to be an avid listener and tries to subscribe everybody, Dave, to our channels.
Is he a fish?
No, he's not. But on every device that he gets a hold of, he tries to subscribe, which I think is awesome.
That's so good.
Thank you, Oscar.
Thank you. Big shout out to you, buddy.
I think he's in year 4 now. Year 4. So he enjoys the show, he says. So that's good. Year 4, guys. So right. I mean, this is for everybody. This is for everybody. It's pretty tame, and we do attempt not to use any swears. We truly do. Swears are not what we're here for. Dave.
Yeah.
It's cold, man.
Oh, it's cold.
It's cold. It's so cold. But there are a couple of things which are interesting. You sent through a news item which I actually listened to on the radio. Why don't you tell us what happened with this?
You'll have to narrow it down just a little.
That's it. That's all you get, Nana. The submarine. I think that's it.
The submarine. That's right. So this is the billionaire's the submarine where he takes people down. It's only like twice a year because there's not a very big window where the current won't just drive you miles off course, right? And so there's only very tight windows, I think twice annually. And 35 hours or something. They've got 96 hours of air. This is now, well, this afternoon, a couple of hours ago, it was 35 hours, probably 39 hours now, into 96 hours of air. They went down, and it's normally an 8-hour on a 3-hour cruise. It was then like a very short amount of time. You go down, you're in basically like a diving bell, but it's custom made. It's called the Titan, and they get down to, I think it's 2 miles where the ship lies on the bottom, the Titanic, and they get to cruise around the outside of it, looking at it in situ. It's pretty remarkable technology that you can do this, right? Remember how long it used to take, Mackie, in the olden days, right?
Oh, yeah.
Well, they can do it now with tourists. This is a tourism thing. People with enough money can pay to go down and see it, right? However, shortly after it was untethered, I believe, it's gone offline.
Yep.
And that's the end of that story. So because there's a billionaire on board, I think they're going to, no expense spared here recovery. Because they've got, and I think whatever the change is now from 96, it's probably 2 lots of 48 from what I remember math is, and they're going to be almost halfway through this recovery period. Remember, there's also, as they bring them to the surface, if they locate them and they bring them to the surface, they can't just bring them to the surface. There's a journey on the way up, and they've got to stop at different levels and reacclimatize to the pressures. Just remember that. That's really important. So if they had an electrical malfunction and there wasn't a breach, then there's hope that they could be found. But it's extremely complicated. From what I understand, the Americans already have assets in the air that they can find submarines, military style, and they're looking, but it's extremely deep. And just remember where this is, right? The Titanic is kind of just off New York, 1,500 miles. It's not that far.
Well, I mean, you couldn't swim it.
No, that's true. That's not what my point. My point here is, on the map, I thought it was mid-Atlantic. No.
Yeah, it's actually, no, you're right. It's quite close to the coast.
Yeah, that's right. It's, I think, not even the distance across the US, away from the US. Anyway, sadly, that's the grim news today. But I do live in hope that they're found, and that there's a marvelous story to tell when they've been saved. Because otherwise, I mean, it can do the depth, right? So it's not about it can't do the depth. Like a regular submarine, a military submarine, can't go that deep anyway.
Yep.
They have what's the equivalent of a ceiling, but it's not. It's a floor. And they can't go down below a certain depth. They're really shallow watercraft. Even military submarines are shallow watercraft. If there was a way of being able to pull a cord and release the CO2 into inflationary chambers on the side and slowly bring it up to the surface, I'm sure the people in there would have already done it.
You'd think so.
Yeah. So if it was a true electrical failure, I mean total electrical failure, then I don't want to think the worst, right? And this is the morning show in the US, Mackie. So
no, I hear you, but look, chances are it's curtains for these people.
Yeah, but could you imagine if something else happened?
Well, see, I've been thinking about that actually.
Yeah, me too.
Because a lot of stuff has been going on everywhere recently. We've been poking the hornet's nest all over the place, releasing information and whatnot. So yeah, look, you have to keep an open mind. It is certainly possible that something else could have gone on. And in fact, we still don't know what happened to MH317.
360 and 7. We know what happened to 17, but we don't know who did it.
But we don't know what happened to those 2 Malaysia flights. We don't know what happened to the 3 other aerial craft that were shot down at the same time as the balloon. Do you remember that?
That's right.
That story went nowhere.
Okay. What debris?
I don't know what you're talking about. We don't know what happened to that missing actor. Gone.
That's right.
And
that was
now
Baldy.
Yeah, it was. And now we have a missing submarine. And I says, okay, this is me now talking here and making an educated guess. We will not find the submarine. We will just not find it. It will not be found. Full stop. Now, it's actually not as clever, I guess, as you might think. But GPS doesn't work underwater.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it just doesn't. So they have no way of really locating it. I don't know if there was a cable attached to the submarine. I thought there was. I don't know if that snapped or not, or if it was free diving. I really don't know, right?
I believe, from what I understand, that it's untethered.
Okay, well, that's not so good. That's not what you want to hear.
Yeah.
Untethered that's a bad thing. So if you ever go into a deep sea submarine of that size, you want something that is at least somewhat tethered somewhere to the surface. That's what you want. In nuclear sub, you got some significant air reserves and etc. And there's some chance to be rescued, right? Because you just have a little bit more air and everything. In one of those small subs, a couple of days. Was it 96 hours?
96 hours, yeah, that's right.
Now that's assuming it didn't spring a leak. It's assuming that everybody keeps calm, etc., etc. There's a whole bunch of other stuff that you have to consider.
Mm-hmm.
Now, unless they dispatch a submarine, quick smart, it could be. It's possible they were taken. This sounds crazy. Well, this is Plato's cave. We gotta knock the narrative.
Well, what isn't being said, right?
What is being said?
Are they living with Jar Jar Binks down under the water now?
the worst Star Wars character ever.
I didn't mean like that. I meant, in the Gungan world, right?
No, I'm with you.
I wonder, Misa used to say, that just offends everybody, that the accent they had for Jar Jar. Yeah, using. But I'm going to say, look, it is. I think there's some idea, even if it's 1/2%, it's actually, you know what? It's greater. It's a greater percentage of hope that I have that it's still okay than the percentage of CO2 emissions we get from going totally EV. So, hey, look, I'm good. So, on that bombshell, Mackie, if it were possible, but they've just kind of vanished, but like the people vanish in, the 411s, right? That they look and then suddenly, oh, there they are. Yeah, but we looked exactly. There.
No, you didn't. No, we did. No. See, that's where you're wrong. No, really not.
We had 400 people arm in arm, and we didn't see anybody, and then this person just popped out of thin air. Hopefully, Mackie, they're found and they're safe.
Oh, of course.
Right?
Of course.
It'd be a total tragedy.
Yeah, that's what we want to see, obviously, right? There's no doubt about it. I'm not very optimistic, though. I'll be honest with you. I'm not optimistic. Now, the other thing that I found interesting, I listened to an economist from an independent think tank, and I forget the name of the think tank, but it was here in Australia,
mm-hmm.
and she was talking about the economy, etc., etc. And she said, and this is I go, what? Now this was on the ABC, right? ABC News Radio.
Oh yes, right, okay.
And
I'm just going to say that's a very grounded station.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
It is, and it's. I mean, look, they take feeds from Deutsche Welle, from the BBC, from NPR, and a whole bunch of other networks across the world, and they've got their own reporting entities as well. And they're look, they're still telling a narrative, right? But you get a pretty good overview if you listen to that station. It's 24/7 news, right? Anyway, and documentaries. This lady, I wish I could remember her name. While I talk, I'm going to Google as well. She said that we're using all the wrong tools to control this runaway inflation, and it's corporate profits fault here, and we're not making it any better. We're actually wrecking the economy. Wow. Yes.
Thank you.
Right. I mean, that was something different. That I mean, I didn't expect that to hear on I guess publicly accepted. radio, if you will, right? But it's true, and not only that, there was an interview today that was conducted by the ABC as well with our Minister for Housing
Mm-hmm.
and Homelessness. That's actually the title of this minister.
Wow.
Housing. No, really.
We need less housing and more homelessness.
The thing is,
no, I don't think you have the right, sir.
I hadn't realized. I'll be honest with you, that we have a minister for she.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, housing and homelessness. It's a thing. Housing and homelessness. That's now a ministry. This is a department of the government. National Housing and Homelessness Plan. We'll have more homeless. That's the plan. So she was given a hard time because something fairly significant didn't pass today in the Senate, which was, I think it was a rent freeze legislation or something or other, or no financing. No, it doesn't matter what it was. It didn't pass. What it in effect it means there'll be less housing available for people, and the interviewer got a bit rough with the minister.
Oh.
Which like
well, you're fair game, right? So
yeah, and he said, "Look, thank you for your time. Sorry that we got a bit heated there, etc., etc." Which hey, I think that's what the press needs to do. So Dave, it's like I'm sleepwalking and waking up and sort of sliding between universes here, where all of a sudden the topics that matter actually make it to the news. Right? Yeah, at least the first layer of things.
Like the first layer, that's right. At least they're talking about it. Whether they're doing anything is another story.
Well,
I heard today, Mackie, that there was an analysis done of the rate rise from this month. So on the first Tuesday of every month, our federal bank decides what are they going to do with the interest rates? Going to go up, down, or stay the same? And their minutes said that they were really close to not putting them up, but they put them up. And then all the economists stare at it going, what? Sure. But if you put it up too high, you cause a recession or worse. And, runaway inflation, sure, I'm going to argue that it isn't the end user and it's their spending that's causing it. But that's, what do I know, Mackie? I'm not an economist. I don't know. It's like when someone finds something when they're mining, which is some out-of-place artifact, and they go, but you're not an expert. Yeah, but I found it. Doesn't the thing itself represent the truth? No, but see, you don't know. What do you know? You didn't go to university to study artifacts, right? Well, this is the same thing. Well, why put the interest rates up? Oh, because we just did, right? And we'll argue that it was the right thing to do. And why? You don't work on the board, do you? Do you work for the federal bank? No. Oh, that's a shame, because you'd know, like we do, it was the right thing to do.
Yeah. Can I read something to you?
Please.
This is an article again from
I love bedtime
ABC News.
Stories, Mickey.
This is wonderful. Okay. Here's the problem. Here's the problem. The RBA conceded this week it can't really measure households' inflation expectations over more than a year. For households, this is a quote now, the main data on inflation expectations relate to just the year ahead. We lack measures of medium-term inflation expectations, Governor Philip Lowe said in a speech. Again, the bank has said it cannot be sure whether households believe inflation will continue to be a problem in 12 months' time or not. The very purpose of changing the cash rate is to shift consumer behavior, and the RBA doesn't know if its policy is ultimately working to achieve that.
There you go.
And the RBA, let me say this again, right? And the RBA doesn't know if its policy is ultimately working to achieve that. Instead, the bank is leaning heavily on evidence of inflation here and now and simply worrying about the outlook, saying June's rate rise follows recent information that has suggested greater upside risks to the bank's inflation outlook. Greater upside, which means that the inflation is going to go up. The RBA also relies on how significant professional economists, businesses, and union officials perceive the inflation risk to be, but it's households that ultimately determine whether a price for a product is paid. And we like evidence about what the consumer will do a year from now. In summary, the bank has now conceded its inflation models don't cope well with supply shocks like the pandemic. And it's flying blind. It's flying blind when it comes to how effectively it's managing arguably the most crucial swing factor in its interest rates decisions, namely longer-term household inflation expectations.
Yeah.
It's like Alan Greenspan saying, "Yeah, I've been wrong for 50 years."
Yeah, the whole time I was wrong.
I mean, my free market economics just doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
But the markets don't regulate themselves. Oh, really? Oh, that's a shock.
Markets just clamber over themselves to earn more money. That's all they do.
Earn more money. Earn more money.
That's it,
guys.
Honestly, yes, I am gobsmacked. My jaw is on the floor with their incompetence, right? But they'll argue to your face that they've done the right thing, and that's the end of that. We can't change it, right? And the government has decided to put an overseeing body over the top, which will guide or police them to a certain extent. But like I've said all along, that they're going to try and bring it up to 7%.
Yeah.
That'll be the market rate, not their sell rate. So when they get to a certain amount and the banks have a 7% interest, then woohoo. But do you know what's really weird about these interest rate rises that they've been putting on, Mekki? Do you know what do you think is the weirdest thing?
I don't know where to begin.
Good. But I'll help because
good.
Strap yourself in, and it is that the interest rate rises that the banks have been putting on the lending amount have been disproportionate. They've been going up at a higher rate than the Reserve Bank has put theirs up, and the margin spread has increased for the bank because they're poor. The second thing is that the commentators said, "Oh no, the banks will be fine. Don't worry about the banks. They'll be just fine, right? They make more money. The more money that they make more from that as well. So it's an exponential scale. Savings accounts haven't gone up.
No, they haven't.
That is the big surprise. So while
no, it's not at all. Yes, it is, but it isn't.
Tell me why it isn't, Mekki.
Well, because this is not about. Okay, so
it's not about the people.
The theory is that if you increase interest rates, both in what was lent out as well as in the deposits that are being held by others, you encourage less spending as well as at the same time the double whammy of more saving. That's the idea, right? But this is not what this is. This is not about giving more money to people that have some money in the bank. That's a terrible idea.
We don't want that.
That's a terrible idea. We want to take more money out of the pockets of the people that have no money. That's what we want to do here. We don't want to encourage people to save. That's silly, David. That's silly.
Stand still and let the vacuum cleaner take all the coins out of your pocket.
All the coins, hurrah! I'm no longer weighed down by earthly possessions. I'm happy. No, but look, all jokes aside, this is the agenda, right? This is what we're seeing here, and I'm not surprised at all that interest rates in banks haven't gone up at all. The thing is this: it's like the price of crude oil goes up by $10 a barrel, let's say, right? Immediately you will pay more at the Bowser.
That's right.
Immediately, the price of crude oil goes down by $20. The price at the Bowser stays the same.
Yeah.
The price at the Bowser stays the same. This is the same here. Interest rates are going up. Banks are charging more for the stuff that they have lent people, but the deposits that are sitting in the bank are not being given the same interest rates as returns.
That's right.
You know why that is? It's not regulated. None of this is regulated. Okay, let me be very simple. I'm a simple-minded guy, and I've got simple-minded solutions. if we wanted to curb inflation, really, really curb inflation without stabbing, flying blind, stabbing in the dark, there are two things we need to do, none of which are popular and none of which will be done because they're political suicide. One, you got to control prices. You're going to control prices. This is the price. The price is now set.
Mm-hmm.
This is the price. No profiteering, no super profits. This is the price across the board for everything. Prices will not rise. Okay. Two, you have to reduce the volume of cash in the economy, which means you have to reduce government spending, right? Especially in areas where we don't need it. So
sorry. Did I just laugh out loud? That's hilarious.
No, those are the only two things,
mm-hmm.
short of a war. Those are the only two things that will actually help us in this economic situation that we're in.
Mm-hmm.
You have, because inflation is everybody thinks it's like this force of nature. It's like gravity. No, it really isn't. It's usually an effect on the economy that is triggered on purpose. Oh, crazy conspiracy, Mackie.
Mm-hmm.
Why would anyone do that? That doesn't make any sense.
I'm warming up to the idea.
The government is going our best interest at heart, don't they? Don't they? Come on, say they do.
Again.
Sure. No, the problem is that the government, and look, in most representative democracies, Westminster or otherwise, the government is not an extension of the people. The government is an extension of business interests.
Mm-hmm.
Corporate, usually, not just the Liberal Party, the Labour Party too. Yes, there are policies there that are, seems a bit more, progressive. I'll give you a simple example. I looked at this whole voice thing in detail. It's actually all connected, so I need to make this quick jump there. I looked at the voice issue in some detail now. I looked at all the arguments, and I listened to Senator Thorpe as well, quite extensively. The issue with the voice is this. The movements among the Aboriginal people that are asking for a treaty are of the opinion that our government, our parliamentary system, is illegal. It's an occupational force. It's a colonization force. It has no right to be here because the premise upon which it was founded, which is terra nullius,
mm-hmm.
is simply not true.
That's right.
So terra nullius means that nobody was here and the British could just take it.
Yep.
Which is not true. We know now it's not true.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it's a lot, it's very, very complicated, but ultimately everything that comes after that is illegal. It's completely illegal. Okay. So here we are, and she says, no, I'm not going to vote for the voice because the voice doesn't give anyone any power. Because it doesn't. The voice is not a decision-making body. It can give advice, right? Here's the advice, and you know what happens with advice, right? Especially if it's not asked for. People ignore it.
Sorry, what?
And you can ignore it.
My ears are painted on at the moment. What was that?
What's it? So they ignore. What she argues, and the people that argue against the voice, not Dutton, they argue against the voice for different reasons. Mm-hmm. But the Aboriginal people and others that argue against the voice in favor of treaty do so because they say, well, look at New Zealand. There's a representation of the Maori in Parliament. They've got a treaty. That's working okay. And it is. And the only reason there's a treaty is because the Maoris came pretty close to beating the British when they were trying to colonize, so to speak, New Zealand. There's no one here. Oh, really? Why are we getting all these body bags back, boss? So they had to come to a treaty agreement, something the English hate. The British Empire hates treaties, okay, with a passion. But this is one of the few treaties that actually held, because the Maori just didn't take it. And they said, no, this is what it is. And Senator Thorpe argues, well, why can't we have that here? And the answer is, well, why can't we have it here? We should have it here. And I understand now why people are so opposed to the voice. Not in the liberal camp, that's a whole different thing, but from the Aboriginal side, because it's nothing. To them, it's just another belittling gesture of the white man giving, how did she put it? Giving the black fella, something. Here's something. Have something. It's nothing, but it's something. And that's what she is so angry about. I get it. Right? I do get it. So it's more complex. So we are here again, and this is the same with the whole banking system, because again, the interests that are being represented, even when the voice comes into being, it is sort of a placating movement. No, we gave them something, here it is, but the interests of whoever runs the show are still protected. It's the same with inflation and what we're trying to curb it. I mean, the entire system is set up so that the interests of the few are protected against the interests of the many. That's the system. That is the system we have. There's no other system that we have. And we still don't get it. And we're still sitting in the cave, looking at the wall, shadows dancing, enjoying the show, watching the Kardashians. And I listened to this broadcast because my boy was playing with my phone, and he put on this supercar thing, like the 10 most expensive cars in the world. And then Jay-Z and Jay Leno own quite a few. They own quite a few of them. Now these are cars that cost $4, $5, $6, $10 million each. That's the people whose interests are being protected. Those people's interests. I don't have a $1 million car. $1 million, that's more than my house cost. So it's really quite depressing and makes me angry when I sit down and really truly think about it, Dave.
Yeah.
But, I'm running out of steam here, man. I don't know.
No, I totally hear you. So the voice is one thing. Yeah. Changing anything or the false fear that it could bring down the government. I think they're all really interesting points of view. I don't think the intention is that, or the intention is that. But look, having said that, I would at least, at very minimum, like the current government to acknowledge that there were people here. And I think that's a very good starting point. I think there's going to be a whole bunch of lawyers that jump on to defend it once that's on paper. Yeah. To fight against it, to defend it, whatever. It's going to get jobs for the boys going from the blue ribbon society of our nation. I think that's what's going to happen. But anyway, look, having said that, where else can they go now? Mackie, I watched a presentation today where it was, I think, like a corporate pride thing. Do you know the meaning of pride? Blah blah blah, and it was some pretty good representation there within, the business community, talking about equal rights and no one should be treated differently. But I think the support of this is similar to, and don't hate me on this, the Black Lives Matter is very important. Yes. Once you've been able to grasp that they do, then shouldn't the argument be all lives matter? Once you've recognized one group over another, then I think there's bias. I think we need to remove the bias. One thing, Mickey, I would do to change all the laws, to simplify the hundreds of new laws every year, is to remove the bias of the law between genders. Eliminate it, just have person, because there are specific laws that are made for females and specific laws made for males and females and males. Well, if you just make it person, I think that's going to correct a whole bunch of wrongs.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. And sorry, but look at the way girls especially are treated in places like Afghanistan now, where they're being poisoned when they go to school. You know what? Yeah, if you make it about the person.
Yeah, but globally, we're useless at this stuff.
Yeah.
I think we don't even do a good job in our own backyard, if you know what I mean.
Oh no, we are no. Like look at the way we treat women in Parliament. I mean, this is
it's repulsive, yeah.
Right? Yeah. Sorry, go on.
No, I agree. So when we had the first woman prime minister, they were talking about her clothes and not about what she said. And that was really disappointing to, I've read the book, but I've read a book. But if you think about how we do this and the perspective we make, we're forming opinions based on these words that are coming out of the media. It's kind of sad, Meki, because I believe, I don't know, what year are we? 2023, right?
That's the one.
Yeah, I would have thought by now we would have had all of this together. But in fact, I think the conversations just make it all worse. It's like when someone's trying to apologize for something and they end up just putting their foot in it, or, their foot in their mouth, and making it even worse. And I think that's kind of where we're at now. I don't see that the path forward is significantly marked on the ground. Like, this is where we should be going. Because once again, I'm going to bring the Great Reset into it, and that lovely Peter Griffin meme that I sent to you. Whereas, it's 2030, and Peter Griffin is sitting, cartoon-wise, sitting in an electric chair, and he says, I think, what is it? I still own things and I'm happy.
Yeah, that's funny.
Because, instead of you will own nothing and you will be happy.
Yeah.
Right? And look, the messaging that we're seeing from that is lining up with everything that we're seeing around us at the moment. So, trying to keep people poor, bringing you back to the economic situation. Don't allow them to make money off their savings, right? Don't support savings, because in the future there won't be any.
Yes.
You'll be given a living wage, which will have an expiration date, and you'll be spending the money before it expires.
Yes.
Right? And you'll never be able to attain anything, because you'll never be able to save any money to do that because of all of the expenses just to stay alive. Now, if this was a manageable quantity of persons, remember what the WEF is all about, and that is to maintain a vast chasm between everybody, that's us, by the way, and the parasites, or the elite, or the super wealthy, however you want to describe those people. Because I don't like to call them elites. I don't think they did anything. I agree with Becky. Parasites, yeah. So just saying is super wealthy, right, is enough. I'm all right with that. So, meaning we could never be them. Once this is in place, we can never do that. We can't innovate. We could never get enough money to get a loan to start a business, to do something new. Whatever it's going to be, it'll be like District 9, but we'll never see them anymore. We'll just be living in our own filth. We'll never be able to actually do anything. Because as long as we're here, it gives them meaning and purpose and wealth.
Yes.
But if we weren't and they actually had to do stuff themselves, that would be the end of humanity.
Yes.
Because they wouldn't. They couldn't survive. And I see this like Hunger Games. Remember all those truly super wealthy people flying about and doing the things and enjoying all of the hoo-ha, which was just the people killing themselves. It was only a sport. It was a death sport just for them to watch. You keep everyone in fear, Mackie. Fear. Oh, yeah. How I miss fear.
Yeah, it's good.
It's good for some reasons.
Fear and uncertainty, the two pillars of control.
That's true. That is so true. I saw a doco on North Korea, which I won't repeat, but if you do happen to, it was new-ish. I think it was 60 minutes, which might be able to let you find it. And I'm not saying everything that they said was true, because I don't believe anybody anymore. I just don't. If there's a news article, I'll try and find the opposite article to it. Do be discerning about what you see and hear in the news, because we all are getting wound up. we're all getting wound up to be happy little Vegemites.
Sure, my friend.
And that's the real hidden message behind everything. Do you think
We are.
if you haven't seen Biden's decline videos this week?
Oh my God! I didn't see those. No, but I mean, is it just this week?
No. It's that I think Sky News even did a story on his decline and showed a series of pieces where I think yesterday or the day before he said, God save the Queen, man.
I watched that clip. Now the Queen is dead. That's for starters.
That's right. A good song. That.
Unless it's the Queen of Norway or Sweden or something, right?
Maybe.
Well, I mean, it's it's all good. The Queen of Sheba, right?
I saw Blinken went to China.
Oh, did you see what happened?
I saw the 180-degree backflip on, the one China policy.
So what happened in China, in case you weren't aware, is the worst diplomatic slide ever in the history between China, in fact, between any country. The seating arrangement and the way they were sort of belittling the American diplomatic mission. It was really quite telling. It's just like, we have no respect for you whatsoever.
Wow.
None. Oh yeah. One of the commentators I listened to said, this is a senior diplomatic professional, I would have walked out. I would have turned around and walked out. That's how bad it was. The Americans should have just walked out. Now think about that for a second. Right? Put that in your pipe and smoke it, baby. That's serious stuff. So, it's, yeah. Anyway, but yeah, that's
Was it really that bad?
Yeah, it was that bad. It was that bad.
Oh, no.
Incredible, right?
Well, I think they're trying to get a deal to say, don't invade Taiwan, or if you do, we won't do anything, as long as you condemn Russia. Don't sell them weapons. So if you sell them weapons, we'll protect Taiwan. I believe, because after one of those diplomatic meetings, and they both come out to the people afterwards and talk to the press and said, we had robust discussions.
Yep.
And they're not allowed to say what they really talked about, because then that would be bad.
Very, very bad.
They can't tell us what they really spoke about, but you know what? Just them in the same room, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So it disturbs me greatly. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
They're doing deals over people's lives, people's lives over others.
Yeah.
What? Really?
But but look, ultimately, there's nothing new here, right? So
no.
So look, we're living in the, as you said, this is the year 2023 of the Common Era. Based upon some arbitrary astrological and historical events. But here we are, Common Era 2023. We are essentially in the same world that we have always inhabited.
Mm-hmm.
What do I mean by that? We are no different than we were 2,000 years ago. Slavery is alive and well. People are being sent to fight in wars that have no meaning to them at all. None. It means nothing, right? But nonetheless, there they are, right? Fighting these wars. And we do, what do? We just sit idly by and watch these things happen, right? And we haven't come a long way. It seems like we have. It really does, but we haven't. We are still the same. We are no longer the masters of our destiny, as we like to think of ourselves. Right? We think, oh no, we've done this, we've done that. We're all these great we've done these great things, and we've come so far. Black people in America, I mean black, people of color, are still disproportionately the largest number of people incarcerated, and also disproportionately the people that are killed.
Yeah, that's true. Mm-hmm.
Same in Australia. Same in quite a number of people where there's a racial discrepancy or a racial, dichotomy, if you will, between the inhabitants. There's nothing new about this. It's always been with us. Slavery, still here. Sexual exploitation, women and children, that's still here. The wanton killing of millions of people, that's still here. People starving to death, people making a profit on it, that's still here. I fail to see, for the veneer of civilization that we all seem to have, I fail to see how any of this puts us in any better light than what we were 2,000 years ago. I really don't see it.
Yeah.
Because you and I, Dave, we would have, considering our education and our relative standing in society, we would have all been, middle classish or something like that, merchants or traders or whatever the case may be. Right?
Yeah.
And you and I would have always been okay. Most people listening to this probably in a similar situation, not necessarily all of them, but many. And for a while, we had quite a large middle class, quite a while there.
Yeah.
Okay. But that has sort of gone away a bit. We no longer. We are now actively working on decreasing the middle class. Think about that for a second. What? Are you sure, Becky?
No, it totally upsets me greatly.
We are. Yeah, we are. We're decreasing the middle class. It's no longer as vibrant, let's say, as once it was. This isn't. So what do you do then, right? What do you do? What do you do indeed? Not a lot. There's not a lot you can do. I don't want to be doomsayer here, right? But we haven't come a long way. People say we have. We have not. Look at the world. Look at the state of the world and tell me, oh, wow, look at our progress. No, I wish, I honestly wish I could say otherwise. I wish I could say, oh no, yeah, look at us, man. We've done this, we've done that, so much better, this and that. In some countries, there's more equality and more opportunity for all. In some countries, that's true. That is absolutely true. But the vast majority of countries in the world do not follow that pattern. They just don't. And we need to remember this as we make our commentary and our analysis. Most people do not share the same good fortune that many of us enjoy. It's just the nature of the beast, right? No pun intended on that one. So, what do we do from here? I really don't know. Dave, what do you reckon? What can we do? What can be done?
Firstly, take a breath.
Yeah.
There's no call to action here. What we're saying basically is you're right. I think the first thing that the trailblazers do, which is you and I, Meki, and the audience, is observe. You need to observe. You need to understand what's going on. And I think we're doing that to a great extent. If I wasn't doing this show, Meki, and if I wasn't a listener, an avid listener to the show, would I be this critical? I don't think so.
You're right.
So I think we have a unique perspective here because our eyes are open, because we're watching what's going on, but recognizing what the signs would be as it, I could say, worsens, or it becomes more severe, whatever it is. If they're working towards a plan, we can actually watch the plan happen. And at least, rather than blindly accepting it at some point, if we've got a choice and we realize it's not everywhere, maybe we can do something for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
I think the struggle that someone would go through having not been previously aware that the action's going to happen, the surprise and all the, for them to go from, all those levels of acceptance, I think that would be something that our listeners would be able to accept rather quickly and get through it in a mental state which is more than adequate. I think maybe without the fear.
Yeah.
And the unknowing. So don't remember where there's absence of information, we start to create. Our imagination does that for us. And it's not always fantastic, and it's not always a great outcome. If you can concentrate and get through some of life's trials, these are some of those periods in time right now, that maybe there is a way forward. I don't want to contaminate you what you think and what you think the outcomes should be, right? I'm not trying to do that. I'm just truly concerned, Becky. That's where I am. I'm concerned that people won't take this the right way.
Look, you know what Senator Thorpe said in Parliament?
No.
She said she is there to bring down that institution.
Wow.
Now, she's got parliamentary privilege, which means whatever she says there, she can't be prosecuted for. That's what it means, essentially. That's pretty strong. That's pretty strong. Okay, from where I'm standing, that's some. I mean, you want to be careful what you say, right?
Yeah, totally.
And I'm not advocating that either. Having said that, though, we do need to do something. We need to open our eyes and live differently. And I don't mean buy an electric car. That's not what I'm saying.
No, don't do that.
Don't buy an electric car. No, but live differently. Do things differently. Be different. Do something other, something else. If you can. Because we need to, guys. We need to. Yes, it's something we have to do. If we don't do it, then we're going to be in a world of pain. Okay? We really have to do things in a way that is different to what we are used to. There's no other way to say it. It's just it's our interest. We need to do it.
Totally. So, all right, we've got 3 minutes left. It's gone pretty fast already.
Wow, really?
Yeah, 3 minutes.
Oh, jeez. Look, what do we take away from today? The story is still a story. Okay, just to be clear on that. And we need to find where we fit in. We need to find what is true about that story as well. Is there truth in the story, in fact? Or is it all nonsense? How much of it can we believe? Which parts of it that concern us? Where do we draw the line? What are we willing to accept? Right? What are we willing to accept as people? Where do we see ourselves? Are we the kind of people that we just nod and go along with stuff? Or are we in fact the kind of people that we're going to be different? We're going to do things differently. Right? I don't know where you sit. Right? It's entirely up to you, of course. I mean, you need to do you. But we all need to make a choice. Because it is clear, to me at least, it's crystal clear, that the way we are going doesn't have much of a future. Right? We don't.
Look, for me, Mackie, it is all about building a community, being friends with your neighbours, and I don't mean this in a kumbaya thing, but I mean to be able to group together and have combined skills, understand your neighbour's weaknesses, for just simply being able to assist, or so that what your team members have, right? That to me is super important, and at this time I think we really need to bring that out. So do maybe take some coffee around, or knock on some doors and say hello and introduce yourself. If you haven't done it, then maybe this is a good time to do it. It really ruins me, Mackie, because when you live in the country town, you know everyone, good or bad.
Well, thank you, and that's actually a good thought to finish off. Thank you so much for listening and inviting us into your lives, living rooms, cars, wherever you might be, maybe the International Space Station. This has been Plato's Cave. Thank you so much for listening. Do stick around. Something's going to come up. Not sure what, but it'll be interesting. So don't touch that dial. And most of all, peace.